My daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy. I said we can continue to explore, to date. I would like to move in with you. We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be your wife, and I need to be your wife now. Had they been a little bit more patient and humble with me, either one, they would have became my wife. I don't know if they know that. They know it now because they're going to see this. Right. If they would have just been a little bit more respectful of where I was coming from, they would have got married. I would have married either one because they were the mothers of my daughter.
And every year on my birthday, explain to me, this is how much money you have in your account. But if you make a baby, all your money is going to take care of your child. Should it be any different? If I enjoy making it, shouldn't I also take care of it? So my oldest son, who was 15, I've been doing the same thing with him, the 9-year-old and the 15-year-old. So he told me last year, he said, Daddy, this money looks so good to me, I've just decided I'm not ever making me a baby. I'm keeping all my money to myself. But the point is, the boy understands responsibility. He understands if I make a baby, you will take care of it. There are mothers who know their son impregnated some girl on the same block, and they say, well, you know, boys will be boys. Yeah. They will be whatever you let them be. I want to pause now. Explain this. Why are some mothers raising their daughters and loving their sons? Did you grow up in a household where you did more work if you're the sister than your brothers did? Why is that? And you know what else I believe? I believe that child rearing has a lot to determine in marriage. In other words, marrying a mama's boy is a very critical mistake. Because they can always go back to their mamas. Son, your room is just the way it always was. Got your favorite pie of cake whenever you want to get there. It is terrible marrying a mama's boy. Comments. It's my water break. Give me some.
But what's holding him back, well, this is what he tells me all the time. He figure I'm going to be with another guy, or I'm going to slip away from him while he at work.
Why doesn't Timothy help you take care of those kids?
One thing I do know about Timothy, that if he did have a job,
see you another blue moon.
I know he would take care of me and the children and the bills. But what's holding him back, well, this is what he tells me all the time. He figure I'm going to be with another guy, or I'm going to slip away from him while he at work. That don't make no sense to me.
Don't you get mad sometimes?
I get mad a lot of times about financially support from Timothy.
What do you say to him?
I always said, it ain't that hard to get a job. You go out there and look for a job, because I'm sick and tired of just laying back waiting for a welfare check. I said, this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. This is not the way I plan for my future to be.
Does it make you feel bad that you can't support your kids?
Yes.
How do they make it? Where do they get the money?
Well, the majority of them, the mothers on welfare, and welfare gives them the stipend for the month. So what I'm not doing, the government does.
What would happen if the government didn't?
This would be a big disaster, I guess, because you can't give something that you don't have. In order to give, you got to have for yourself.
You see, people out there watching going to say, why didn't he think about that before he brought 6 kids into the world?
Well, mother had a choice. She could have had an abortion, or she could have kept the child. She decided whether she wanted to have the child, so therefore, I guess it's not sweating her. I mean, it's not bothering.
You think it's her fault if she gets pregnant?
Well,
I mean, you fought her.
Well, maybe not. Like they say, mama, baby, papa, maybe. You know what I mean?
Became pregnant. You think it was a mistake?
Well, I'll say no, because I wasn't on any, when I got pregnant, I said, well, I'ma have this baby, and she's not gonna stand in the way of my education. I'm not gonna let no one stand in the way of my education. I ain't gonna be like these other girls, just drop out, can't get no job, no money, have to be on welfare.
Ready. On the vocabulary. Bingo. Florinda learned about birth control in sex education courses, but she still became pregnant. You think it was a mistake?
Well, I'll say no, because I wasn't on any, birth control methods. Neither was he. And, we were sexually active, and when it happened, it just happened.
When you think back to that day when you learned you were pregnant, what went through your mind?
Oh, gosh, I'm going to tell my mother. And I'm going to tell my mother she going to make me get an abortion. I was really scared, I think.
Why didn't you want to get an abortion?
Because I wanted his baby.
What did you like about him?
His legs.
His legs?
I got a thing for bow-legged boys.
Bow-legged boys?
I love them. They have some gorgeous legs. I just don't know.
Darren Lyle is the father of Florinda's baby. Oldest waits at every corner.
How does a guy keep from falling into that trap that you described?
Shot and robbed by two teenagers when he was 15. 4 months later, he was arrested for carrying a gun. That is not unusual. Nearly half of young men in the inner city are arrested before they reach 18. Trouble, Bernard told us, waits at every corner.
How does a guy keep from falling into that trap that you described in that rap?
If you see everybody else robbing, man, and selling drugs, it takes a wise man to learn from another man's mistakes.
The adults got to set an example for the kids. If they see the adults do it, that's what they're going to do too, eventually.
Who would be an example?
My family, my mother.
His mom is Brenda Wardrick, 30 years old, the mother of 4 children by 3 different men. She has never been married. She raises her children alone in a daily tug-of-war with the street.
It's a battle. It's almost like, and I think most parents feel the same way. You fear for your children leaving home. They can leave out and walk right across the street and trouble can get in their way.
What's the hardest thing about being a single parent?
It's hard, understanding them sometimes. And they have difficulties understanding me because I'm a young parent, and sometimes they act like I'm their sister as well as their mother,
Brenda was just 14 when she became pregnant with Bernard, her first child. Bernard's father was 50. By the time she was in her early 20s, there were 3 more children, each unplanned. To support them, Brenda works on and off as a nurse's aide, but she could not make ends meet without welfare. None of the children's fathers give her any financial support. I don't understand what happens that causes so many fathers not to take responsibility for the kids they created or helped to create.
It's easier on their pockets if they can. Most of the men today don't, assume their responsibilities as they should. Not that they can't, they just don't.
I get very mad.
Daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy. I said we can continue to explore to date. I would like to move in with you. We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be your wife, and I need to be your wife now. Had they been a little bit more patient and humble with me, either one, they would have became my wife. I don't know if they know that. They know it now because they're going to see this. If they would have just been a little bit more respectful of where I was coming from, they would have got married. I would have married either one because they were the mothers of my...
To get married. I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. 1. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. It's a lot of responsibility. And then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so, it really, male figures are not substantially important in the family.
Thinking about holding up for no sex, my man. If a girl, she get having a baby, carrying a baby, hey, that's on her. I'm not gonna stop my pleasures because of another woman.
What about birth control? What about condom?
Girls don't like them things. They don't like them things. Girl tell you to take them things off. They figure that you saying that they filthy or they dirty or something.
It's been a startling change in values. 25 years ago, you would not have heard such things said so freely because they were not embraced so widely. The strong family was still the backbone of Black America, and 3 out of 4 children had both parents at home. That is true no longer. Most Black children are now growing up without their fathers. The result is a world turned upside down as children copy what they see and repeat what they learn. LaDawn said she didn't have a father in her home and doesn't think her children need one. She's not unusual. Half the Black families today are headed only by a woman. Clorinda said she could make it on her own as a single parent. She has never been married and is raising her daughter without a man's help. She's not unusual. Today, nearly 60% of all Black children are born out of wedlock. Timothy said his children are not his responsibility. He has left them to be supported by their mothers and welfare. He's not unusual either. For LaDawn and Clorinda and Timothy, and many more like them in cities all over America, the traditional family no longer exists. It has vanished, and something new is taking its place. Single women and the children they're rearing alone are the fastest growing part of the Black population. What becomes of the Black family in a world where the values are being turned upside down?
If the parent is 17 and 18, uneducated, unmotivated, fooling around, wandering around, what's the child going to learn? Who's to teach him? When you learn something, you was taught by your parents. It was reinforced by school and your neighbors, but it was taught by your parents. Well, if the parents don't know anything, how are they going to teach the children? So it's not racism that I'm fighting right now. It's the lack of motivation. I'm not even talking about racism. Maybe later on we'll get back to that. But I think we are destroying ourselves.
Daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy. I said we can continue to explore, to date. I would like to move in with you. We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. I wasn't there for my daughter. And she may expose me on one of these podcasts one day and say, Daddy, you're the reason I can't find good black love because you never validated me as a woman.
Hey TikTok, so I just wanted to come on here with a small short announcement. I literally just want to have a conversation with my father.
Women who had their fathers in their lives in an intimate, healthy way.
My biological father is Dr. Umar. He has another daughter. I tried to contact him about, getting to know my sister on my dad's side. I asked him if he knows her or if he has her number. He ignored me and never responded.
Availability. Was dad present in your life?
I'm 22 years old now. My dad has never been to anything important.
Was dad present in your life? Was they at the football game? Was they at the basketball game? Did they come to the birthday parties, or were they absent? Did you have parents who abandoned you?
No graduation, no birthday parties, nothing. He has not been in my life. I'm 22 years old and you have yet to be in my life.
2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when I say being raised, I'm not saying it needs to be a father. I would like a father in that house, but I know it's not enough of us to go around. Yeah, we are not even being accountable to the boys in the hood.
You can't get on Instagram and get on social media and portray to be an activist and talk about how black kings need to be with black women, but you're not even in your black woman's daughter's life.
Did mom and dad do for you? Or did you have nothing at all? When your shoes got holes in them, did they get you another pair? You understand that? When you were still hungry at dinner, could you get another plate? Or did you live in an environment of scarcity? So you got intimacy, you have reciprocity, you have availability.
It doesn't make sense. You're being a hypocrite. And it's frustrating because I reached out to you. I reached out to you. I shouldn't have had to do that. I'm your daughter.
It's an ain't no daddy at home disorder problem.
I don't want anything out of you. I want nothing but a conversation. Forget the relationship. I really don't care too much about that at this point. I just wanted a conversation out of you and you shut me down. You ignored me.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Deadbeat fathers is very common nowadays, especially in the black community, right? We all know Dr. Umar reps the black community or whatever, but you can't rep that if you're not even in your daughter's life.
That's not proof. It's still debatable, but it's a good piece of evidence.
It's not making sense. To the public, you look like this person, but in private, you a whole nother person.
Bullshit. All right. That's wimp ass weak, man. Take responsibility for our stop scapegoating them. Yeah, I could agree to that. All I'm saying is look at all we can be doing better.
And I'm not bashing you.
Really?
I just don't understand why you're ignoring me. No graduations, no parties. When I get married, are you going to be at the wedding? Are you going to walk me down the aisle? My biological father is not even on my birth certificate because when my mom had me, he left. You cannot be a hypocrite. You can't say do A, but you're doing B. Y'all already heard my mission for this video. Y'all already heard why I'm making this video. So if she can reach out to me, I would love that. I would love to have a conversation with you because you are my sister. And in the next clip, I will show y'all the screenshot of me trying to reach out to him and he ignored me after I asked him if he had my sister's phone number. So here you go.
Y'all know me too well. Y'all know my love for children is too strong. For anybody to be coming out the woodworks telling you they've been trying to reach me when my number has been public for 20 years.
I don't think he loved me. If he loved me, he would never do that to me or my mom. So he could say whatever the hell he want. Actions speak louder than words, and y'all know that. Don't never let nobody sit up here and tell y'all one thing and do something completely different.
Listen, brothers and sisters. I want y'all to listen. My phone number has been the same for 20 years. So anybody telling you they've been trying to reach me and my phone number hasn't changed in 20 years, mind you.
And I already said I don't want a relationship. I just want a conversation. I don't care about no damn relationship. It's not a child's job to mend a relationship they didn't break. Thank you.
I speak at graduations in Philadelphia all the time. I'm on the street in Philadelphia all the time. I have events in Philadelphia all the time. I got family in Philadelphia everywhere. And you've been trying to find me? Stop the cap now. Can we please stop the cap, brothers and sisters? Trying to build your struggle streamer career off of my back, coming up out of nowhere, acting like you've been looking for me. Get Mama Smurf. When can the three of us have a sit down? I'm ready for this. I'm ready for it. When can Mama Smurf, Papa Smurf, and Baby Smurf have a sit down? Oh.
And I already said I don't want a relationship. I just want a conversation. I don't care about no damn relationship.
I'm ready for this. And I will have my white man paperwork. Why do you need white man paperwork?
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Why do you need white man paperwork? I will have my white man paperwork. When can we do the sit down? When can we do the sit down? Been paying child support since you damn near came out the womb.
Stop bringing up child support. Child support means nothing. You still was not in my life. I don't like when people pay child support, that goes to the child's parent. That's the money that they use for child care or whatever else. Like, what is that really doing for me though? You're not in my life. You're not coming to no graduations, no birthday parties. You're not supporting me. You're not there for me.
Deadbeat who? When can we have a sit down? Child support started. You wasn't even out your mama yet, and she took me to child support. Deadbeat who? Deadbeat who?
I would have respected him so more had he came to the internet and said, you know what, I was wrong. I was a deadbeat. Let me move forward and see how I can fix the situation. No, you got on the internet trying to reflect, trying to deflect, trying to protect your reputation, which is, I mean, I understand it, but let's tell the fucking truth here. Don't get on the internet and lie. Then you keep bringing up court documents. What do they have to do with anything?
Child custody file this thick. What are we talking about? Where is Mama Smurf? Where is Mama Smurf? Can we please have a sit down? Calling me names? Using profanity? Really? Because you want to build your career. Oh.
I'm not trying to get clout. A lot of people hit me up for interviews. Y'all gonna have to come up with some pockets because I'm not doing shit for free. 3,500 to 10K is my range. Y'all pay Dr. Umar thousands of dollars. Y'all gonna pay me the same shit.
We in the building. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit the PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. I said paypal.me/FDMG Academy. You ain't serious. I'm running this right here. I'm the king. Everybody else themselves. Build your career, princess. I want you to be happy. I want you to do what you must do.
I'm not trying to get clout. I just hit 5K on Instagram. The Dr. Umar video was over 200K. I posted 3 videos regarding him. They all hit over 100K in 24 hours or under. You never called him though. You texted one time. You don't know what the did.
I can't believe all you YouTubians and nobody asked this child, where is your mother? Can we hear from your mother? This is how you know that this is not about the truth. Mama knows. But I'm going to give y'all a few questions to ask. If his number hasn't changed in 20 years, why haven't you called for an in-person conversation? You wait until now.
And this is what I'm talking about. You'll get on the internet, you'll talk about stuff that y'all don't know shit about. Mind the business that pays you, because this is not paying you, it's paying me.
Why is that? Why did you wait until now? I want you to get off of social media for a minute. Stop looking ridiculous.
I'm not trying to get clout. Y'all see the views? Hold on, this camera always fucking dirty. 295K, 249K, 199K, 14K. Make sure y'all follow me on TikTok and Instagram.
Get off social media for a minute, baby Smurf. Stop looking ridiculous. And I want you to get Mama Smurf. And on Thursday, 1 week from today, I'm calling you out, you and Mama Smurf. I want a respectable private FDMG tour and luncheon. Baby Smurf, Mama Smurf, and Big Papa, Wilmington, Delaware. Let's put it into this right now. Let's see who really telling the lies around here. Oh, yes.
Much that you want to have with me, you and my mom, I'm not having it. You want to talk, you can call me on the phone, and that's that.
I need y'all to stay focused. I appreciate those of y'all who are standing, fighting for me. I appreciate the love, but we're going to let all the negativity cycle through. We're not feeding into it no more. Positive vibrations. We're in the new year. Black History Month just ended. This is Black March. Positive vibrations. That's all we're going to do. Everybody who want to throw this and throw that, and let them do it. I'm not worried about that. Let them do it. We're going to do what we got to do. You feel me? So everybody stay focused. Everybody stay blessed. And we're going to do what we need to do. We got to build, y'all. We got to build. Stay focused. Don't let the evil take us. If you with me, you with me. If you ain't, you ain't. I'm not begging nobody. If you with me, you with me. If you ain't, you ain't. The only thing good that's coming out of this unfortunate situation is everybody got to pick a side. Pick a side and stay on it. Please stay on your side. No more frenemies. I don't want no more frenemies. Either with me or you not. Let's do what we got to do. Black Queens forever. Arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be your wife, and I need to be your wife. My daughter's mothers felt they should have become my wife purely due to pregnancy. And I told them I would not make a lifelong decision about who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with purely based on pregnancy. I said we can continue to explore, to date. I would like to move in with you. We have to learn more about each other before we decide to spend the rest of our lives together. And they arrogantly said, it ain't going to work that way. I need to be your wife, and I need to be your wife now. Had they been a little bit more patient and humble with me, either one, they would have became my wife. I don't know if they know that. They know it now because they're going to see this. Right. If they would have just been a little bit more respectful of where I was coming from, they would have got married. I would have married either one because they were the mothers of my daughter.
Oh, you guys think there's no sound? Oh no. I'm on mute. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. Okay. Did you guys hear okay, I may have to start this all over again. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, you guys heard, were you guys able to hear the video? I want to make sure you guys heard the video at least, right? That wasn't like totally on mute. Let me know down in the comment section if y'all heard the video, but you just didn't hear me. I want to see where we left off. Yeah, let me know down in the comment section. Thank you for letting me know there was no sound. I was over here talking to myself. Wait, so you're saying the video was not on? Okay, so you heard the videos. Okay, so you heard the videos, but you didn't hear me. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so quick recap. For those of you guys who are joining, just wanted to bring you guys up to speed. So I started off the live by giving some snippets of a documentary that happened decades ago. As I mentioned, it's debatable as to whether or not it was done back in the 80s. I heard some people who were older say, no, this was actually done back in the 60s. And maybe it was repurposed or something, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, I showed some clips of a documentary that was basically looking at the Black family decades ago. It was entitled The Vanishing Black Family. And really what it was looking at how it's changed and what these changes are likely to do to the Black community. So, they looked at teen pregnancies, they looked at single mothers, they looked at young kids who were having kids, they looked at absentee fathers, and then you see the absentee fathers were just literally like young boys who just created kids, and so you just saw all of the mess that is associated with pretty much kids growing up in a single parent household, growing up in inner city, growing up in an environment that's gang ridden, and they don't have a lot of supervision, and then kids are being kids, right? And so that's really what they were focusing on, is these different challenges that are coming at Black families, Black kids in particular, and then how these Black kids are now creating kids, and it's creating this ricochet effect of crisis. So that is what we looked at earlier. Again, like I said, that documentary, it's debatable. Some people say it was actually done in the 60s. Some people said it was done in the 80s. But nevertheless, that's what it is. Fast forward, the last week or two, we have Dr. Umar, who calls himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism, going viral because his daughter, whom he does acknowledge as his actual biological daughter, has stood out and called him a deadbeat father. Obviously, this caused the internet to go and just, buzz, because the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, is all about, or proclaims to be all about, building the Black community, creating a better reality for Black kids and for future generations, right? Creating systems. I know he has a school that he's been trying to work on for years now. I don't know how many years. You guys let me know in the comment section if you know, but I know he has a school where he wants to educate kids, and it's all about, in his brain, trying to educate youth, educate younger generations so that they can essentially have a thriving Black community and be free from the shackles of white supremacy, right? Like, that's pretty much what he's about. And he's obviously a Pan-Africanist. And so he doesn't limit his understanding to Black America. He is about trying to build connections throughout the Black world. And I have to say, there are some things, as far as ideologically, there are some things about Dr. Umar that I agree with, right? I am also in agreement with building connections with Black people across the world, across the diaspora. We live in 2025 where we are connected to our phones. And as someone who travels and loves to travel and loves to learn about different cultures, I love learning about what Black people do across the world. I love learning about other Black cultures. I love learning about cultures, period, but particularly Black cultures. And so, there's things about Dr. Umar as far as his ideas that I can say that I can agree with. And actually, there's many Black people who ideologically may agree with Dr. Umar, but there's been challenges over the years with what he said with respect to the lifestyle that he's lived. And then more recently, when his daughter came out and called him a deadbeat dad, it really just, I think, opened up this larger conversation, because basically he spent the last however many years or decades chastising Black men for not being good fathers, chastising Black men for not being good leaders, chastising Black men for not being there for their children. And then now you have a daughter who comes up and says, well, you weren't there for me. So it's a mess. Honestly, it is a mess. And right now it's a he said, she said, right? You have Dr. Umar who has his side, and he does not deny that that's his daughter, but he's very clear. He says he's paid child support. He's mentioned that in his videos. And then you have his daughter, Anisa, right? On the other side, who had said, I don't care about child support. You were never there. So right now it's unfortunately a game of he said, she said online. Anisa, his daughter, has been going around. Some of you guys mentioned she went on Tommy Sotomayor. She mentioned that she's going to be doing something with Tasha K. I just saw recently that she's actually doing a live with Cynthia G, yeah, which is crazy. So she is obviously making her rounds, okay? And obviously he's been defending his point, saying, no, I was not a deadbeat father. I paid child support. Now, here's the thing. We don't know. He calls Anisa's mother, I think, Mama Smurf. So we don't know anything about Mama Smurf. We don't know anything about the situation. We just don't know. All we know now is that there is a father and a daughter who are at odds, who are bickering online. He's saying she's doing it for clout. She's saying she's not doing it for clout, but she is going on all these different social media platforms. And it's a circus. The video that I showed y'all at the beginning, if you haven't seen it, where I do a whole recap pretty much of the different conversations that have been had over the last few weeks. If you guys haven't seen it already, go back and check it out so you guys can kind of come up to speed with just the interaction between him and his daughter online. But I included circus music because, like, it low-key is a circus. Like, it feels like a circus at this point when you just see how the tabloids and the media and stuff can really run with these things. But yeah, I seen her. She was on Cynthia G platform today, and she mentioned that she's going to be going on Tasha K. But here's the bigger point: we can sit here and debate. We can sit here and say, "Nah, Dr. Umar is right. He's completely right. She's just out here for the views. She's just out here for the clout." Some of y'all gonna sit here and say, "This was his daughter. This was his daughter." So the fact that she's acting this way is indication of the fact that he wasn't present enough, right? So you're not going to say that. Some of y'all are going to defend her. And like I said, we don't know Mama's birth because there are also situations in which a father wants to be in the daughter's life and the mother makes it impossible to do so. She makes his life a living hell, or she goes through different legalities. She plays different games. So there are situations in which a mother will make it hard for a man to get in touch with the daughter. There are situations in which the man may have access to his children, but the mother who has custody or the primary custody is constantly bad-mouthing the dad, saying all kinds of things. He ain't paying this, he ain't doing that, he left you, he showed up, making up all kinds of stories. So like I said, there are all kinds of scenarios about this situation that we don't really know. It's he said, she said, but what we do know is that there are a father and a daughter who are online, a Black father and a Black daughter who are online bickering, cannot get along. Cannot get along. So, and this is my bigger point. No matter how you spin it, what we do know based upon the evidence is this: no father and daughter who has a healthy, affirming relationship, no father and daughter, or no parent and child who has a loving, affectionate relationship is going to go out of their way to go online and bicker and fight. That's what we do know. We do know that. I can say as a daughter, right? I can say as a woman, every daughter, every woman has an innate desire to have a relationship with their father outside of the money and resources. Every daughter has, it's like built in us to where we need that emotional, that spiritual validation. Every single woman out there, they desire it. They need it. It's built in them. They need that validation. They need that affirmation. They seek it. They want it. And the thing about it is when they don't get it, when it doesn't happen, it changes them. It can change them in a not very good way. And there's different ways that women can start to express these needs that aren't being met. Right? Like I said, they could become hypersexual, very promiscuous. They start looking to men to try to fill that daddy void. They start looking to boys, peers, to start filling that daddy void. These girls who don't have that loving and affirming relationship with their father, they may do that. They may become man-hating and just become angry and say, well, I don't need you, men. And so they start rejecting men. They start having trust issues. And so they go the far other extreme. But it's really because at the end of the day, they have daddy issues and they were sad and upset that daddy wasn't there to affirm them. And they wonder why didn't daddy love me enough to take care of me, to be there for me, to be that stable place. So you have that. You got women, like I said, they completely lose all interest and attraction to men. They become lesbians. Like there's all different ways that women can start to react to that daddy connection not being there. And she said it. She's angry. I mean, she's actually mentioned this with her own words. She's like, I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. I don't even want a relationship at this point. I just want a conversation. I mean, she said this out of her words. So this ain't, assumption. These are things that she said. But my point is, no healthy parent and child, no healthy father-daughter that has a good affirming relationship is going online to go back and forth with each other. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. So what I'm saying is, one of the things Dr. Umar had mentioned, he was like, look, deadbeat, who? I pay child support. What are you talking about? I always pay the bills. Right? I don't know the whole situation, but I'm going to believe what he's saying is true. But what I'm going to say is, as a daughter and as a woman, notice how she responded. If y'all go back and check the video, she was like, I don't care about no child support. I needed you in my life. Where were you? Where was your presence? Where was your actual, just you, the being a father? And this is one issue that I think, this whole conversation, I think it exposes one issue, one challenge, right? We live in a society that has told men for a very, very long time that they're not needed. That's been a tenet of feminism. I started off the live by showing you videos, right, of some teen mothers who basically said in their video that they did not need the fathers around to raise their children. They didn't need the fathers, that they were self-sufficient because they saw their mothers doing it. I showed you other videos of mothers who were raising 4 kids, 3 different dads. Daddy wasn't there. So you saw all these examples. And what we're seeing is there's these examples of women who have been told and have been taught, basically, that they don't need men to be there in order to sufficiently and efficiently raise their children, raise their daughters. This messaging has been going on for decades. And I think this is one of the core issues that we have with the Black family. When men get the message that they're not needed, if and when they get that message, already what that does is you have some men who they'll start to internalize that, and they will think that they're better off by not being in that woman's life, right? And then also it can create the message that, okay, well, because I'm not needed, because my presence as a man, as a father isn't needed there, as long as I'm paying the bills, as long as I'm giving the child support, then I'm doing my part as a father. As long as I make sure that, she has a place to stay, she has a daycare, I'm doing my part. But what these messages do is they remove and they undermine the intangible qualities that a father, that a masculine man brings to their family, to their daughter. This is why I'm so against some of these dating standards today that treat men like they're ATMs, or that look at humans in general as commodities. Because if the idea is like, okay, well, men are they're only valuable if they can pay these bills, we're completely overlooking all of the other aspects of masculinity that men bring to a family, to a son, to a daughter. It's not just, okay, a father pays bills or he does child support, right? It's not just that. What men bring, what fathers bring to their children, it's identity. Fathers first bring identity to their daughters and their sons. That's what a father does. They impart identity. Women can't really do that. They can nurture, they can nurture a child, but a father has the ability to impart identity. The father has the ability to impart stability to their children, their daughters and their sons. Fathers impart identity. They impart stability. They can bring discipline. Discipline is also an aspect of love, right? Love isn't just do whatever you want and I'm just going to love you all the time. Do whatever you want and I'm not going to say nothing, right? Love is also, I love you so much, I'm going to keep you from making that bad decision, right? Fathers can bring discipline. They bring structure. They bring order. Like, these are things that men actually do in families. But when we grow up in communities where there's there's been a cycle after cycle of mama was raising kids by herself. Daddy wasn't there, or if he was there, he was way far off somewhere else because he didn't really think that he was needed or present. And he thought as long as he paid the bills, that's all he needed to do. There's so much that's being missed. And we hear that in this girl's voice. Notice she didn't say, you didn't pay no bills, you didn't give me money for this, and that. She said you weren't there. She's like, you weren't there. Whatever check you gave to my mother, that doesn't mean anything. Your presence wasn't there. And so this is the confusing thing about it, right? There's been message after message, decades after decades of saying like men aren't really needed. What's that one thing? A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. I think that's the saying out there or something like that, right? Like, so you have those messages that men aren't really needed and they're not essential to the family. But we start to see that we're seeing the results of this. What are the results of decades upon decades upon decades of fathers not being there, good fathers not being there to raise healthy sons and daughters who could go on to be healthy sons and daughters? Like, what is the result of that? We're literally seeing the result of that in front of our eyes. We're seeing it. Young girls turning to social media for validation. Young girls turning to men. If they're not turning to men because they don't like men or they think men are toxic, they turn to women, right? Other boys just checking out completely. Other people thinking, okay, they're only worth what they can produce. Like, I mean, you just, when the role of masculinity and the role of fatherhood is not put in its proper place, the community completely falls apart. It disintegrates. It dismantles. Like it ceases to thrive and exist. And this has been going on for decades. So that's what I'm saying. This situation between Dr. Umar and Anisa, we don't fully know the truth. It's she said, it's he said. His side of the story, her side of the story. Mama Smurf is what he calls a baby mama, right? Mama Smurf is somewhere in there. We don't know her point of view. There's so many unanswered questions. But what we do know is that there is a father and there is a daughter who are not getting along. And it's gotten to the point to where there's so much dissension, there's so much beef that it's become public. And what I'm saying is, while this is one story, unfortunately, this is a lot more common than not. It's a lot more common than not. And it reveals broken cycles that have been going on in the Black American community for quite some time. It reveals a lack of understanding of the role of a father. As I mentioned before, when you look at Dr. Umar's response to his daughter, one of the first things he said was, I was paying child support since almost before you were born. He was like, since day one, I was there. I was paying for you. I was making sure that you were taken care of. And what I'm trying to articulate is men have been told for so long, that message has gone out for so long in different ways, that they're not really needed. They're not essential. Fathers aren't needed. That when you have men who are able to show up financially, they feel like, okay, well, that's what it means to be a dad. I'm at least I'm paying. At least I made sure that she has a place to stay. Which that is important. But what it does is it robs the Black family, it robs the daughter, the son, it even robs the man of understanding the value that he brings to the family that has nothing to do with money. And unfortunately, masculinity in this context, it's deeply connected to what a person can produce only. Manhood in America, it's all commodified, particularly Black men. You have no value if you aren't making a certain amount of money. Your value is exclusively linked to what you can produce, right? That's how it's been created, unfortunately, in this American Western capitalist setup. That's how it's been created. So because of that, there's this false understanding that if I just look, child support's paid, I guess I did what I needed to do as a dad. No, women don't have the capacity. Mothers don't have the capacity to show up as fathers. They don't. Now you have single mothers out here who do the best that they can, and some people are able to get along in spite of the fact, but mothers do not have the capacity to be fathers and mothers. They don't. Do not believe the lie. Don't believe the gender bending lie. Don't believe the whole, okay, we're all the same. Don't believe it. Mothers do not have the capacity to be fathers. They never will. When a father is not there, then there's a deficit, period, in a discussion. She can do the best that she can. She can find other resources, other avenues to try to fill that void. But when fathers are not there, and when I'm saying there, I'm not talking about just the money. I'm like, when they're not, them as a man, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a father, when they're not there, there's a huge disconnect. There is a huge void. And we have generation after generation, decade after decade after decade of examples of what happens when men are not there and when men are removed from the proper place. We've seen it. This is not even theoretical at this point. We have examples in our own community in America of what happens when men aren't there. We see it. So that's why I look at the situation, and as much as crazy, as messy as it's gotten, okay, it's got a little messy. All it is a microcosm of a bigger issue that's been going on for quite some time. Unfortunately, it's far too common for ladies to grow up without their daddy. It's far too common for kids to be born out of wedlock. It's far too common for a baby to be born, and then you got to ask, okay, well, the baby is born. Well, should this person be my wife? Should this person be my husband? Should we commit? Should we not commit? Like, those are questions that should have been had before another human being, another spirit was created. But I'm saying, like, because it's become so common, we can almost forget that it's toxic. This whole thing is toxic, no matter how you put it. Even being in the situation in which a parent and a child, a daddy and the daughter, are publicly going back and forth, debating how good of a parent they were, debating how good of a daughter they were, debating like those. If you even find yourself in that space, then unfortunately you've gone too far. And here's the thing about it. And I mean, I've said this before. While I don't deny that there are systems in place, I don't deny that there are unequal systems, right? That systematic racism is real. All those things are true. But no amount of, you could have the perfect system right now. Wakanda could be in existence. Wakanda could be literally in existence right now today for everybody to go and enjoy. If a Black man and a Black woman can't get together and raise a healthy family, ain't no Wakanda, ain't no perfect anti-racist, anti-white supremacist system, ain't no perfect pan-African reality. If Black people, on just like the most rudimentary basic level, if Black men and Black women can't get together long enough to create a family, to stay together and raise kids, then a perfect system will not be able to remedy that. Because a community is made up of families. A community, a communita, right? Well, it's become a communita, but a community is made up of families. So I'm like, that's why I'm like, look, I'm not opposed to some of the different things that he's working for, wanted to create a school and better reality and build connections with, brothers and sisters across the diaspora. Like, I'm all for that, but I'm saying we got to get back to step one. Step one is mother and father together. Don't be making babies. There's no need to make babies and bring life into the world if you don't even know if mother and father can't stay together past a year. You know what I mean? Like just the most basic stuff. Basic stuff. Mother, father, marriage, kids. Wow. Like, so basic. Mother, father, commit. Once they commit, then there's children. Wow. Like, cutting edge. This is like the most basic stuff. This isn't the most basic stuff. So that's what I'm saying. It's like no amount of trying to be anti-racist, stop white supremacy, undermine the white supremacist control system, all the stuff, right? None of that is ever going to be able to overlook or undo the necessity of a functioning Black family. That's it. I'm like, if you can't function If a man and a woman can't even get together long enough to create a kid and raise that child together and not hate each other and be violent, then what are we talking about? I don't need to sit here and even worry about no racist white supremacist system. That's not even the main issue that's impacting me every single day is the fact that you got, these families that can't even get along. And I understand some of y'all gonna say, okay, well, this is the result of that. Granted, this is a result. Yes, we can argue that, okay, yes, there are things that were done policy-wise to undermine the family. We can argue that from, here till tomorrow morning. But that doesn't change the fact that no matter who created it, no matter what caused it, no matter what was going on, that doesn't change the fact that the way forward is to stop all of the chaos and all the toxicity and to stop these patterns that have been going on since day one. And I'm like, that's why, these kind of situations. And I think this is also why, it gets so much. Of course, you had a lot of people who were chiming in. One, because these kinds of situations are actually rather common in the Black community. Now, what just so happens that Dr. Umar is he's a he's well known. He has a lot of influence. He's a public speaker. So by nature of him being a public speaker and by nature of him speaking on public matters related to the Black family, this makes this situation more public for all eyes to see. But nevertheless, this is just a microcosm of a really toxic pattern that's been going on in the Black family for quite some time. And that is father isn't there or father isn't allowed to be there for whatever reason, right? Like I said, we don't know the situation between Dr. Umar and his daughter, Anisa. All we know is that she's upset that he's not there. We don't know why that happened. Maybe he really was a deadbeat. Who knows? Maybe it was a situation in which the mom kept him away. Who knows? We don't know. But what I'm saying is, unfortunately, this is the theme that's been going on for quite some time. Like, men get the messages that they're not needed in so many different ways. It's come so many different ways. And then the result of men not being there or not being allowed to be there. Because again, I understand that there are situations in which men want to be involved. And the mother of the child makes it nearly impossible for the father to be involved. I understand those situations exist, so I want to be mindful of that. But nevertheless, that doesn't change the fact that that child, that son, that daughter, when daddy is not there, being able to be a father in its fullest capacity, being able to be a leader in its fullest capacity, not just paying bills, but imparting identity, right? Because fathers impart identity. That's what they do. The first thing they do is impart identity and stability into the children. Mothers can't do that. They can help nurture and they can help, try to create spaces, but mothers cannot do that. So fathers impart identity, stability, vision, direction, guidance. Like there's so many things that men do that are intangible that cannot be replaced and cannot be replicated by a mother. There's a reason that there's a mother and a father. They're both needed for the child to be able to grow up into their fullest capacity. But what I'm saying is, how many times have men been told that they're not needed? How many times have men sometimes have even internalized that, so they feel like they don't need to be there? They're not ready for the responsibility. Sometimes there are men who want to be involved, but they're not allowed to. There's all kind of different scenarios, but the reality is daddy isn't there. The whole family, the whole structure suffers. And then, like I said, that can create daughters who grow up without a healthy connection with their dad. They at best, they try to find ways to cope. At best, they try to find ways to cope. They may become highly promiscuous. They might become radical man-hating feminist, like radical toxic man-hating feminists who hate men. They might turn to lesbianism. They just don't find any attraction in males or whatever. Some of them might just completely shut down altogether and just not date anyone, become themselves and just be awkward. Like, I mean, there's all different ways, but what I'm saying is that a child ends up having to cope when they don't have that need met. So, I didn't have really a ton that I wanted to go over, other than sharing how much of this situation is a microcosm of a bigger need. Now, real quick, I saw this video. I'm gonna play real quick. It is of a I want to say he's a psychiatrist. He's a black psychiatrist, the one that I have shown in the photo right here. And he goes on to explain in detail how the crisis of the black family is what is, the crisis of the black family, the lack of marriages, the lack of fathers being there is what is causing many of the issues that we see going on today. And honestly, I mean, the remedy is quite simple. It's quite simple. It's just a matter of it being done. But I want to listen first. If it plays. Okay, sorry guys. Okay. Wait, okay, bear with me. I'm having a hard time hearing this. Okay, bear with me, guys. Okay, sorry guys, bear with me. I might need to do this. Let me try it this way. I'm having some technical issues here.
One of the 5 biggest challenges black people have for the next 100 years, the number one challenge is the existential crisis of the black family. The existential crisis of the black family. Marriage in our culture is down to 34%. When we were growing up, it was 85%. It's now down to 34%. 71% of our sisters are not married. 29% will never get married. 63% of our brothers are not married. 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential.
Okay, actually, no, he's a black man. He's very fair, but he's a black man. And I'm saying, I can say this because, respectfully, I have family members of mine who are this light. I have family members of mine who are fully black, who are this light, who are very, 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 very light. So no, this is not just, this is a black man. Let me continue.
Potential without family at the center of their culture. This only exists. This is an interesting but negative statistic. This phenomenon of the existential crisis of our family only exists among African American black people. It does not exist on the continent or anywhere else in the diaspora. So there must be something in the water. We must fix this. It is a lot easier said than done because it is impacting our wealth. Quick statistics. For 350 years, household median income was dominated by white people. They were number one in this country. They no longer are number one, they're number 3. And there's a reason for it. So, who has the highest household median wealth in America? It's East Indians. $104,000 a year. What's the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%. 2 are working. Who's number 2? Chinese Asians. Household median income $110,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. Number 3 are white people. Household median income $88,000 a year. What's the marriage rate? Almost 50%. Down significantly. Number 4 are Hispanics. Household median income $61,000 a year. Marriage rate close to 70%. We are at the bottom. Household median income $55,000 a year. Marriage rate 34%. And projected based on facts and statistics that if we do not fix this, because white folks ain't fixing this, our marriage rate will be in the low teens in the next 20 years. This is an enormous challenge. That's a whole talk by itself on how do we fix it. It can be fixed, but we have to, first of all, understand that this is a problem. No one's talking about this problem. This is a huge problem. It's the number 1 problem in our culture. So we must fix it.
Oh.
So a lot to unpack there. I know some of you guys were commenting on the color on his skin. Is that a black guy? You know, I don't want to say all black families, but I'm sure most black families in America, look, I certainly have light-skinned family members, right? My mom's side is lighter. My dad's side is darker. And I have, like I said, full-blooded Black family members, cousins, my nana, my grandpa, like, who are very, very, very light and under certain conditions could pass. So yeah, like I said, it's complicated, but nevertheless, that don't change. What he said was bars. It was facts. Not only does it hurt us, financially, there are obviously challenges associated with not getting married and just not building wealth in that way, because we already know that Black families, it's not like they have a ton of inherited wealth. The poverty, the likelihood of poverty or having financial challenges, it increases exponentially when somebody has a child out of wedlock. Now we're looking to women, right? Which is something that they do overwhelmingly, Black women. It's unfortunate that there are more baby showers than weddings in the Black community. That's not good. That's not good. It is not good to have more baby showers, a ton more baby showers than weddings. That's not a healthy mark of a community. So I agree with everything that he said. And this is partially why, I do what I do. At the end of the day, you can't force people to do nothing. People have to make their own decisions. But I think it's important to first recognize that what may have been presented as normal, what somebody may have seen in their family for years, even going back multiple generations, does not mean it's healthy. Some of y'all grew up where you had a long line, generation after generation, of women who were just raising kids by yourself, right? So that's normal to you, but that's not healthy. That is not the result of a healthy, functioning family that can reach their optimum. That's not to say those people were bad or horrible just because they found themselves in that situation. That's not to say that you're horrible if you grew up in that situation. But that is to say, that is not the optimum situation needed for a person to reach their fullest capacity. And what he was saying was like, look, there is no community out there who is able to reach their potential without families, without marriages. Like, it just doesn't happen. And I understand some people out there are like, they've kind of already taken the black pill. They're like, they don't want none of it. Either way, they want the whole thing to just die and self-destruct. Some people have that position. And I'm not here to sway that person either way. But my thing is, it's like, listen, if nothing else, I'm going to be a voice out there that says, this is not healthy. This is not what God created us to be. This is not how God created us to function. This is the result of a lot of brokenness, a lot of trauma, a lot of sin, a lot of bad decisions made. It's a result of a whole bunch of different stuff. But it's not how a community can progress, period. And that's why I mentioned before, while there's some ideas about Dr. Umar that I can back and I can get behind, none of those ideas will ever really be able to change things in the level that it's needed to be changed until you deal with the family problem. At least if you have functioning families, healthy families, where men are doing what men are supposed to do, women are doing what they're supposed to do, they're working together, they're not combating one another anymore. At least if that's there, then you can start to work towards a system, or you can start to build communities that are now creating systems or creating infrastructure or creating their own economy. That's how other communities do it. He mentioned the East Asian community. He mentioned a few communities in there, all of whom, by the way, have their own economy where they buy and sell to each other. They purchase from each other. Some of them have their own apps. They have their own schools. They have their own dentists, their own businesses that they are able to support and that they are able to fund because they have families. You know what I mean? They're not going online, daddies and daughters arguing online, going back and forth, saying choose a side, and now the community is getting involved in the family business. Like, that's a distraction. So I'm just out here to say this is not healthy. This is not normal. Even if you grew up in a single parent household, which many of y'all did. God bless you. God bless your mom, your dad, or whatever. But we have to know that that's not God's perfect intention for us as a people. That's not what he wanted. Every single person deserves to have their father and their mother in their life with them, supporting them. And dads are needed. Dads are essential. Dads are not nice to have. Dads are not, okay, maybe not. Dads are not the icing on the cake. Dads are the fathers. Men are the foundation. And when that's not there, the best thing a child can do is cope. They can cope. This is why you have Most High coming in and saying, okay, I will be a father to the fatherless. okay, I'll be a mother to the motherless, but he's like, no, I'll be a father to the fatherless, because he's like recognizing when fathers aren't there, there's a huge void. There's a huge void. There are emotional needs that are unmet. There are spiritual needs that are unmet. And this is what the father helps do: establish the child emotionally, establish a child spiritually, establish a child's identity, get them set up so that they have the right orientation as they are walking into life, into adulthood. And daddy-daughter connections are priceless. They're priceless. And that's why when dads aren't there, it screws up women so much. And this is partially why I feel like you have someone today who are out of their mind insane, because they're just triggering half the time because of daddy issues. And they haven't learned how to get that aspect of their needs met. So I'm just here to remind you, this is not what God has intended for anybody. This is not what God has intended for the Black community at all. And like I said, no amount of perfect structure out here is going to fix that. The only thing that fixes that is going back to what God originally intended for us. I talked about this a few days ago when I was mentioning, when I was combating the lie that women can be, self-sufficient and be independent. I talked about that a few days ago, and I said, listen, ladies, at the end of the day, you're also not meant to be out here. You're also not meant to be out here fending for yourself, period. That's not who you were created to be. Like this whole, I can do bad by myself, I don't need a man, yada yada, has ladies cracking under pressure. They are literally cracking under pressure. We're seeing it. People going on social media talking about how lonely they are. Women talking about they need somebody to help pay the bills. Other women just saying like they can't take it. Like, so we clearly see that we as a species, women as a gender, like we're not meant to just be navigating things all by ourselves. There's an order. There is a family structure that was created that when you are fitting into that family structure, it's healthy. It works for you. So, yeah, so that's what I'm just, that's what I'm saying. Like on the most basic stuff, we can look at this clearly and see this ain't working for us. You can see this is not working for us. So I'm sorry, I'm like looking at, I don't know where my moderators are. I know this is kind of last minute. Anyways, y'all, I didn't have a ton else I wanted to say. Now I will, let me read this real quick, because I wanted to read this. I read this a while back and I wanted to read it again. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna pull up something real quick. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna pull up something real quick. As we are on here, it's a good chat. Okay, y'all, give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull something on here. Like, share, subscribe, you guys, if you like what this is about. Show some love on the Cash App, Venmo. Y'all know the drill. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick little thing as I'm trying to find this thing I thought I had pulled up. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the weather and she is a okay. You said choir scared. Okay. So I mean, like I said, on the most basic and the most basic fundamental level, we already know. I don't have to sit here and debate this to you. We can look at the family structure and see the way that it's been functioning for quite some time, for decades, is not working. This whole Dr. Umar situation is literally just a microcosm of that, right? So I'm not going to sit here and debate y'all over who's God, who's not God. I've been very clear up front that I'm a Christ follower, so that's what I'm about. That's what we do over here. That's what time it is over here. But real quickly, right, I wanted to read this. I read this a little while back before, but it talks real briefly about the, like, if we understand just like basic family order, right? When the Most High says, like, treat your bodies like a temple, don't be sitting over here engaging in sexual immorality. I know you're going to have some, what is it? Some sexual liberatory people who are going to say, oh, well, that's old school. That doesn't apply anymore. We're sexually liberated. But I'm like, we see the results of people who move around sexually free and don't have no discipline. You start having babies out of wedlock. This is exactly what happens. So when the Most High says, do not, avoid sexual immorality, avoid fornication, he's giving you a clue that, hey, if you do these things, you have sex with people that you have no intention of, having a long-term relationship with, and then you decide to have that baby because you don't want to abort it, which I don't support abortion. But I'm just saying, it's like, you have that baby out of wedlock by a person you're not going to be with, that's going to create problems. Like it's very, 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 very clear. So it's like the instructions are super clear. God been said, stop sleeping around, stop hoeing around. God been said that since day one. And we see what happens when we don't honor what God has been saying since literally forever. We see what happens. Kids born out of wedlock. Who the daddy? Daddy's there, daddy isn't there. Mama's mad at the daddy. They can't get along. The child suffers. The child's confused. The child goes up traumatized. And then she goes and repeats the cycle because that's normal to her. How long has this been happening? So I just wanted to read that. So also here, I wanted to read this little passage that really breaks down the order of family. The order of family. And it's crazy because what people now will define as control, what people now will define as slavery, what people will define as, traditional or too controlling or abusive, is literally the order that God set up to avoid us from being in this kind of chaos. So I'm reading here. It says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands and everything. So I don't care what y'all believe. Y'all can sit here and debate me all you want on who's God, who's not God, Christ isn't God, it's the white man, whatever. Can't nobody sit here and tell me, if you had women who were honoring, respecting the men in their life, were honoring, respecting their leadership, can't nobody sit here and tell me their family wouldn't be in a better situation. So we can sit here and debate this stuff all day, but I'm telling you, you guys honestly know, if we had women who were respecting and honoring the leadership that men had, we'd be in a different situation. Period. In discussion. That stuff ain't debatable. Okay. Also, real quick on the slave Bible, y'all understand that the Bible was found in Africa. That's the whole other thing. A Bible is like Christ. It all came from Africa. So just because there is a degenerate colonial white supremacist conception of so-called Christianity doesn't change its very African roots. I don't want to get me on a tangent. But people, that's the whole, that, like I said, that's the kind of stuff that has people out here, because back when black people were together serving God 50, 60, 70 years ago, y'all can sit there and say that, okay, they were on some plantation stuff, but the family was a lot more functional then, when they were honoring God together, than now. Now you got women over here doing sage and tarot cards and trying to pray to ancestors while they're hating men, and then also sleeping with each other, but then trying to do love potions. Then you got men over here just doing things all by themselves, not wanting to deal with women anymore. Like, so can't nobody sit here and tell me, we can simply look at the results of the actions and say 50, 60 years ago, when our ancestors were serving some of the gods that some of y'all think was some plantation God, which, like I said, I understand that you have racist people out there who made Christ or who made God some whole white supremacist political thing. I understand that. That's not the God that I serve. That's not the God that I serve, because the true Christ, the Bible that I'm reading from right now, found in Africa on papyri, written in papyri. But that's a whole tangent. Let me finish reading the scripture real quick, then I'm gonna hop off. It says, like I said before, we all know if women were respecting the leadership of the men in their life, even if you don't believe, you can sit here and debate me on if God is true, or if it should be called Yahweh, or you can debate me from here until tomorrow. But y'all know very single well that the principle of a woman respecting leadership of the man in her life, honoring and respecting that, y'all know that the situation would be 2 times better. I'm going to continue. It says, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one even hated their own body, but they fed and cared for their body just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. When we're talking about leave, and I've said this before, when it comes to like me and my husband, we're in a covenant relationship, covenant marriage. It's like, okay, now it's no longer like my way, his way. It's like we are coming together. It's what do we need to do so that this union, this family that we are building is served. So it's so much higher than, oh, he gotta meet my needs and make sure that he bring me roses every week and take me on a date. Yeah, like that's also elementary. It's him and I now we are building something that's greater. It's we, right? And then now we're building something that's best for the children. It says, however, each one of you must love his wife as he loves his church, and the wife must respect her husband. Real basic stuff. Husbands, real basic stuff. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, love your husbands. Also, by the way, ladies, don't get impregnated by a dude who isn't your husband. I'm like, those 2 basic things right there. Like literally, if people weren't getting pregnant until they got married, and then once they got married, there was love and respect. Do y'all know that 90% of the issues we see going on today would just completely would break down? It will literally end. Mic drop. I don't care what you have to say about who's God, who's not God. Is this real? Is this not real? Is this plantation? Is this white supremacy? Is this racist? Whatever. We can go back here and debate all we want. Y'all already know. If today folks wasn't having babies until they got married, and then when they were married, there was love and respect. Do y'all know, like I said, 90% of the issues. So that's what I'm saying. If nothing else, if nothing else, I just wanted to be very crystal clear that what we see going on today at large in the Black community it's just not useful and helpful. We all know this. And I rock with a lot of the stuff, like as far as a lot of the ideas that Dr. Umar has, as far as like, there's things that I agree with, but unfortunately, even if you're trying to build like the best system, like I said, we could have Wakanda today. Nothing's going to happen. Wakanda isn't going to be full of nothing but drama and chaos if families aren't functioning. So like there has to be a larger emphasis on that. That's all I'm trying to say. And I'm sitting here to remind people that like, can we just also be reminded that none of this is normal? This is toxic. It's super toxic. Super toxic. And unfortunately, toxicity has been normalized. I'm not for that. But, there is like a clear way to get out of this. And a clear way to get out of this is just to go back to what God already said from day one. Many of our ancestors were living that way. Not all of them, but they were living that way. And we were a lot better off. Some of y'all won't even admit that. You'd be like, we were better off like before the 60s. At least we were married. Now there were things that were going on that needed to be addressed. There was obviously some challenges with respect to racism. So that's real. But I'm saying as far as like the community, the strength of the community was a lot better off when you have those basic things in order. And now it's gotten to this point. And what's caused it to get to this point, right? And there's so many different theories to this. Shout out to you with the 50. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the love and the support. So that's yeah. So but that's what I'm saying. It's like this is just basic stuff. This is not even anything deep, y'all. It's not even anything deep. A mother and a father create a child, mother and the father. Ideally, they're staying together to raise that child. The father's in the life, being a father, the mother's in the life, being a mother. There's love and respect. Wow, if those things were there, how much better would the thing, how much different would the results be? Anyways, y'all, that's what I got. Yeah, you said toxic by design. I absolutely believe. Absolutely believe. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to go deep into this, but your understanding is a little off there because Abrahamic culture is deeply connected to African culture. That's like I said, that's the you want to talk about white supremacy? The white supremacist lie is that what is so-called Christianity, the different ideas and beliefs, is white and European. It's not. Europe didn't even show. I mean, Europe was the last to find out about these different ideas. Literally. I mean, if you literally go in the Bible now, and in Africa is all up in there. Literally. The text that you would even deem. So that's what I'm saying. That's a whole other thing. I don't want to go on a tangent. I just wanted to let y'all know. Anyways, if y'all haven't, if you're coming in late, you can go and check out the recap. I showed just some examples of a documentary that was looking at the broken down Black family from decades ago. And fast forward today, we got the same stuff going on. And unfortunately, we see, Umar Johnson, who was all about trying to fix the Black family, who was actually finding himself in that same broken cycle. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, there is no fighting, overtaking, white supremacy, none of that stuff until you get back to the basics. Back to the basics. And I understand that there has to be ladies out here too who are willing to completely throw away a lot of the doctrinization that they've gotten. I understand that. And I support that. And that's partially why we have these kinds of conversations, and I will continue to have these kinds of conversations, because a lot of the stuff that the leaders are being told today is complete and utter BS. Such as, I can be the mother and the father. No, you can't. No, you can't be no mother and no father. You don't have the capacity to do that. You can't be a father. If the father isn't there, the father isn't there. At best, you can try to fill that void in some other way, but you're not going to be able to accurately, you're not going to be able to be a dad. Women cannot be men. Mothers cannot be fathers. There is no replacement. That's all I'm trying to say. There's no replacement for fathers. There's no replacement for dads. That doesn't exist. They're not there. Anyways, that's what I have, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. If you like this, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Just being here and have these kinds of conversations, and let me know what you guys think. Also, if you have other ideas, you said, hey, wait, no Wakanda. Let me tell you, Black people could not handle Wakanda today. At least let me say Black Americans. I don't know. Maybe Black folks in other parts of the diaspora got a little more going on. I don't know. I'm sure that every culture has their issues. So I'm not going to say that every culture and every part is going to have their issues. But the state that Black America is in today, if Black America walked into Wakanda today, do you know that they would destroy it? They would absolutely ruin it. That's what I'm saying. The issue at this point isn't even the perfect system. I would advocate for a better system. I support that, and I support those who are doing that. But I am saying a better system cannot and will not be able to change the fact that you actually need a functioning family. Because a broken system is different than a functioning family. Now, I understand some people say, like, there's a connection. Yeah, okay, we can argue that. But like I said, could Black Americans really handle Wakanda today if it existed? Could it really? Do y'all really think, with what's going on today, if the perfect system existed by which Black people all across the diaspora could go and coexist in unity, in theory, and they all just moved there today, or just let's say you transported every Black American and put them in Wakanda today, would they be able to handle it? Would they be able to handle it? That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying I'm against Wakanda, but we got to get, some of us got to get this broken mentality, pathology, mindset away before you could even handle the things that we say we need. That's a whole other thing. Anyways, thank y'all for hanging out with me. Like, share, subscribe on the way out. You can become a channel member, y'all. Join my channel membership if you want. Also, check me out on Patreon. I have other exclusive content there. And yeah, this was cool. We'll talk later, okay, guys? Bye.